He'll probably give you his story too, but John has done a couple of talks for us, and he has written a book and does a lot of public speaking on living with Parkinson's. And so while I'm getting his slideshow set up, John, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me in the back? I'll talk loud. I took the Silverman course, I can talk loud. So you've got Parkinson's, and I'm supposed to inspire you. That doesn't sound like an easy task. I've spoken about 60 different conferences doing keynote speeches, and I like doing this. I never thought I would become an inspirational speaker. I guess God had something planned for me that I didn't choose, but it's something that I do, and I think that I'm able to help some people, so that's good, and that's what life's all about. The title of my talk is Positively Unshakable: How to Live an Amazing Life with Parkinson's. Now, I'm not going to blow smoke. I wouldn't wish Parkinson's to my worst enemy. We know what it's like to have Parkinson's. The caregivers out there know what it's like to have know what it's like to be a caregiver for someone with Parkinson's. So I'm not going to blow smoke. I'm not going to say that it's the greatest thing in the world. But you can find a positive side of anything. You can find a silver lining in any dark cloud. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. I don't want to live well with Parkinson's. Some places say living well with Parkinson's. I want to live an amazing life with Parkinson's. And that's something that I think people can do, and I'm going to give you the ways to do that through my talk. Parkinson's, if you've never heard the expression, once you've met one person with Parkinson's, you've met one. It applies. You've met one person with Parkinson's. And in fact, you've not even met one person with Parkinson's, because every day we wake up, we're different. So you've met 1/50th of a person with Parkinson's. I like to refer to it as a snowflake, because I like snowflakes. You don't have a lot of snowflakes around here. But snowflakes are beautiful, and they're all different. Every single one of them are different. That's why you need different drugs, because every one of us react differently to the drugs. So Parkinson's is a whole range of illnesses that have somewhat of a common thread, and that's the lack of dopamine in the brain. That it doesn't produce dopamine in the brain. And all these drugs that come out, none of them are a cure, but they ease the burden, is another thing that people say. So what I want to talk about today, and I thank you for the invitation. I appreciate the invitation. What I want to talk about today is that there are things that you can do, caregivers, you can do, proud people with Parkinson's, as I like to call them, you can do to affect the quality of your life. And I use the phrase again, have an amazing life with Parkinson's. And that's what I want to talk about today.
That's good, because I'm not sure who did Maker's art back in.
I'm a professional.
We have a little trouble with art.
I had a hard time finding this place.
Yeah.
Phoenix is a huge place.
That's right.
That might be fuzzy.
Good.
Where are you from?
I'm actually originally from Long Island, New York,
Oh,
but I've lived in so many different places. One of them being Boston. And my mother's from Boston. I'm a huge Patriot fan, so I'm happy today. People
yes.
from Seattle are not very happy.
Yes.
I was diagnosed with Parkinson's when I was 41 years old. I'm 54 now. I think I set an example for people to do the things that you can do to affect Parkinson's and to ease the burden. I brought Lois with me and Sarah. They're an example of me taking charge of my own health And what they do is breathing restoration. I'm a mouth breather. I don't know, anyone else out there mouth breathers? I'm a mouth breather. I don't choose to be a mouth breather. I don't want to be a mouth breather, but I breathe through my mouth. I don't know why, just like you don't know why you got Parkinson's. Probably a head injury, or I worked in a refinery for 4 years, maybe that. I worked for a steel company, maybe that. But it doesn't really matter, because it's not like I was riding a motorcycle without a helmet on and got in an accident. It's not like I went to a second-rate bungee jumping place. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. And you need not be ashamed of it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You have Parkinson's, it's not your fault. You can choose to tell people you have Parkinson's, or you can choose to not tell people you have Parkinson's. You have that power. Let them think you celebrated the Patriots' victory all night long and have delirium tremors. Let them think that. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You can tell people and not tell people. I want to get that mindset going, because some people are ashamed of it and they want to hide it. Well, you can choose what you want to do. How to live an amazing life. Let's see if this works. Yes. I call it an adverse life-changing event. Why do I call it an adverse life-changing event? It's adverse. It's not positive. It's a life-changing event. It changes your life. But think about this. It's not just I can't just say Parkinson's, because it changed more than just the person with Parkinson's. It changed the life of the caregiver. You had a full life before this happened, and now you have an extra burden. So it's life-changing for everyone in this room. Positively unshakable. Get the shaken reference?
Yeah.
I like that. I just came up with that. My basic message: whatever hand life deals you, whatever life-changing adversity you have to endure, there are always some things that you still have control over. Do not just live well, but live an amazing life. If you have faith in yourself, discipline, determination, intensity, or intense desire, inner strength, and the will to do what you can to live a life filled with purpose. That's a mouthful. That's my basic message. I like to start out with my basic message so that you know where I'm coming from. And then I'll reveal what I call the secrets that at least have helped me live an amazing life with Parkinson's. Let's do a shout out to the healthcare providers.
Yeah.
Are there any healthcare providers here? Got a couple of them back there. You have new title. You have new initials. Everyone likes initials after the name. I'm a JD. I'm an attorney by trade, so I get to say I'm John Bauman, JD. Pretty cool. And PhDs get to say PhD. Lois, you PhD? Okay. Well, you get to be RTBDA. Rarely thanked, but definitely appreciated. When the doctor diagnosed me with, well, let me talk about ultrasound nurse. That's very special and dear to my heart. My daughter, we went in for an ultrasound, and my daughter, the ultrasound showed that she had a hole in her diaphragm, and she had a 40% chance of living. Well, the only reason she had a 40% chance of living was because of the ultrasound nurse. The nurse saw this hole in the diaphragm, where the stomach moved up into the chest cavities, where the lungs are supposed to develop. The reason I bring it up is she brought the doctor in and pointed it out on the ultrasound, and the doctor couldn't see it. So she pointed it out again, the doctor didn't see it. She pointed it out again, the doctor finally saw it. Another baby that was born about the same time as my daughter, Katie, the ultrasound nurse did not see the hole. So they weren't prepared, and that baby passed away. So this ultrasound nurse saved my child's life, and I never thanked her. Because when they diagnose your child with a 40% chance of living, you don't say thank you very much. But she very much is appreciated. What blows my mind is, to this day, I don't know her name. I don't know her name. She saved my child's life. But I don't know her name. So, people are rarely thanked in the healthcare professionals, but they're definitely appreciated. So, the observant neurologist. I walked into a doctor's office, a neurologist's office, shook the doctor's hand, and the doctor said to me, "You have Parkinson's." And I said, "Slow down a second. You haven't looked up my nose, you haven't taken blood, you haven't taken a urine sample, you haven't hit my knee with a hammer. What are you talking about?" And he said, "You have all the classic symptoms. You've got an expressionless face, your eyes don't blink, your hand is tremoring, your handwriting is illegible, and your arm doesn't swing when you walk." At least that last one I noticed because my friends used to make fun of me. My arm didn't swing. So I said to the doctor, "I want a confirmatory test. I want you to do a confirmatory test." She said, "Well, the only one that they've got is an autopsy." So I chose against the autopsy. I think that was a smart move. I'll wait for that. But this neurologist was able to get me started on the medicine I needed, get me started on doing the things I needed to do to live a higher quality life. The family caregiver. Family caregiver, rarely thanked, but definitely appreciated. Does that apply? Does that apply?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why don't you do this? Why don't you thank the family caregiver right now? If you're the proud participation, thank them. We got a kiss over here. Don't do anything more than that.
Don't do anything. He says.
You ever see the show Biography? Anyone ever watch Biography? They show the rich, the famous, the celebrities. They show their lives. They live perfect lives. They never have any life-changing adversity. They live in big houses and they're always happy and they're what? No. There wouldn't be a story if that happened. Some of them are the most miserable people ever. Everybody has life-changing adversity. It's how you deal with it that defines you as a person. It's how you address it, it's how you deal with your life-changing adversity that defines you as a person. Think about that. Emotional roller coaster. The first thing I had to do was get off the emotional roller coaster. What do you think this is?
Put on vacation.
That's Egypt.
It's Egypt.
The River Nile.
Denial.
Denial.
Denial. First thing you have to get through is denial. But I'm bummed.
There you go.
Remember they used to do that? Whenever a comedian told a bad joke, the drummer would go, "But I'm bummed." Come on, work with me here. Some of you are much older than me. You should remember this. Or maybe you actually remember it. You actually experienced it but don't remember. Denial. A lot of us go through denial. We say it's disbelief. There's no way that could happen. I remember I went through the motions the first day after I learned, maybe for the first week after I learned, and it was like it was almost a similar experience of seeing white light, where I walked in slow motion, and things were just different around me after I was diagnosed, because it was such a shock to the system. And that's the second one that had shock. I saw white light. I've seen the white light twice before. Strangely enough, when I was a teenager, I was in a bus that actually tipped over, and people were injured. And I could still remember seeing the bus tipping over and it being a white vision of it happening in slow motion. And then when I was going back to law school on the Greyhound bus, we hit an ice patch, and the bus driver was actually killed in that accident. So those are the two experiences that are similar to me being diagnosed with Parkinson's. By the way, if you see me on a bus, get off the bus. Don't get on the bus. But this is to me the hardest emotion to get through. Parkinson's. What do you think this is?
Depression.
Depression. Exactly. Depression. It's not just the fact that you've diagnosed with Parkinson's that is depressing enough, but that you have a chemical change in your brain, you have less dopamine, so you're going to be less happy, more depressed. It's not your fault. I remember the first time I went into depression. I was driving along and I went into a deepest, darkest hole. And I said, oh my goodness, what the heck is this? Because I've always been a pretty optimistic person. But I experienced 20 minutes where I can empathize now with people who commit suicide. That's how bad it was. And I came out of it. And I said, what was that? And about 2 weeks later, it happened again. At least I knew I was going to come out of it, and I did come out of it. But I said, I've got to get some help. I can't do this alone. My positive thinking is not going to allow me to just get through this depression. And I've been taking antidepressants since. Again, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it. It's something that's necessary for me to survive. I'll tell you a funny story about being an optimist. When I was 10 years old, my brother, who was 8 at the time, hit me in the head with a rock. There was blood everywhere. Went and saw my mother. She freaked out. We went to the hospital. I got 10 stitches. My brother tells the story it was 2 stitches, but it was 10. Comes nighttime, my older sister, well, first my younger brother went to bed at his normal time. Then my older sister had to go to bed, and they skipped sending me to bed. Why? Because they were looking to make sure I didn't have a concussion. So about an hour after my brother and sister went to bed, and I got to stay up, they brought out some ice cream. I was psyched. I actually said, and it's folklore in my family, this is the luckiest day of my life. I was hit in the head with a rock. I had stitches, but it was the luckiest day of my life. That's a true optimist. Well, I had to fight the fact that I no longer had that optimism. I had it, but I needed something to let it come out, and that's nothing I'm ashamed of. This is your wake-up call. Now I spoke to West Virginia Behavioral Therapists Association, and when I brought up this slide, because I used this in that speech, they said, John, it's not that easy. You can't just tell people who have shock, disbelief, anger, whatever other emotion you come up with, to just get over it. Well, I'm saying it. Just get over it. Get on with your life. If you're in the emotional roller coaster and in a certain emotion, like anger, you're not going to move on with your life. You're not going to find the silver lining in the dark cloud. So I implore you to do that, to get off the emotional roller coaster. The proverbial buck stops here. Your family caregiver can talk till they're blue in the face. If you don't do it, it's not going to get done. You have to take responsibility for your own health. And coming to meetings like this is one way to do that. And I'll describe that in a second. I got invited to go to Malaysia, really cool country. Anyone ever been to Malaysia? Pretty nice. Did you like it? I got to go to Malaysia, and they actually translated my talk into Mandarin Chinese, which is kind of cool. And this is me doing a standing bow, which is a yoga move. And I don't know why I put it in there, just to show it's a pretty amazing life. And this is me with a Smurf. Now, I did not know before this that I dressed like a Smurf. But I do. And he was happy to take a picture with me. Commit and assess. Like I said, we're all snowflakes. You've got to commit to doing the things that I'm describing today, and you've got to assess yourself, continually assess where you are, where you are, where you are, because we're changing every day, us more than most. Pick a date to start and set it in concrete. Pick a date to start transformation of your life to the highest quality of life possible and set it in concrete. It can be New Year's Day, it can be Groundhog's Day, it can be Groundhog Day, it can be Groundhog Day, it can be Groundhog Day. I can make up jokes as I go along. But set it in concrete. Make it your birthday. Make it next Tuesday. Pick a day and set it in concrete and say, that's the day I'm going to start. Here's a secret. You can still do stuff. There are things you can still do. Don't focus on the things you cannot do. I was a semi-professional softball player. Guess what? I throw with my right hand. You've noticed my right hand shaking. I can't throw. That's actually how I figured out that I had Parkinson's. Or at least there was something wrong with me. I was a shortstop for the Texas State Championship softball team. And I was looking forward to turning 50 one day because they have a 50 and older league, and I was going to be one hot commodity. Well, at 41 years old, I would pick up the ball and throw it, and it would either go way over the guy's head or roll to him. I had no dexterity in my hand, no fine motor skills. Guess what? I don't play softball anymore. So what? I do lots of other things. I box. I can still play golf. Look at the good side of it. That's the way I looked. A little bit different now, huh? I was bloated. I was red in the face. Envision. Call it Envision. I wrote a book. It's called You Ain't Dead Yet. Decide success, you ain't dead yet. Envision. You still have more to live and more to do. Figure out what you want to do and envision it. My envision is to be the slowest progressing Parkinson's person ever recorded in medical history. What the heck, it's my envision. I can have whatever envision I want. The slowest progressing Parkinson's person in medical history.
I'll come along.
There you go. We got another true believer. Now after you have the envision, you got to break it down into daily action steps. My daily action steps, and these are the things that I do on a daily basis to live an amazing life, to minimize the symptoms of Parkinson's, to have the highest quality of life possible. Learn as much as I can about the disease on a daily basis. Now you've just learned about 3 new things today. I actually knew about those. Did anyone know about these before? I knew about these because I go to conferences a lot. And I do my research. On a daily basis, I look up Parkinson's and see what's new and what's fresh. And then I discuss it with my doctor. I don't go to my doctor's visit and say, Doc, tell me what to do. I go to my doctor's visit, and my wife, Bernadette, who's in the back there standing up, is more diligent than I in this and more persuasive than I. She brings many questions to the doctor, and it takes as much time as the doctor will allow, asking as many questions as possible. So learn as much as you can about the disease. Can we do that? Can you do that? You seem to want to do that because you're here today. Put only healthy things into my body. Wow. Let me tell you something. 10 years ago when I started doing these talks, if you had one speaker at your conference to talk about exercise, it was a good conference. Some conferences, two out of every 3, didn't talk about exercise at all. What do they talk about now in every symposium or event you go to? Exercise, exercise, exercise. I was talking about exercise 10 years ago. What they're going to talk about next is nutrition. That's my prediction. there's going to be a big push on nutrition. Don't drink diet soda. Don't drink regular soda. Can I be any plainer? Drink a lot of water. And I have another slide that talks about this, but the key is I only put healthy things in my body. I've lost 45 pounds, and I'm healthier now than I've ever been in my life, including having Parkinson's. I'm healthier now than I've ever been in my life. Well, there's the exercise one. And every word in this sentence, when you're a lawyer, I was a lawyer for 23 years. Parkinson's took that away from me too. That was nice of me. Sarcasm. But being a lawyer taught me to make every word count. Exercise every day beyond my comfort zone. That's not 5 days a week. That's not 4 days a week. That's every day. Anyone ever hear Tony Horton? Like the godfather of workouts? No? Anybody? He does infomercials. He's what? How old is he? 54? 56? What? 56? And he looks like he's 26, maybe 36. 36. He says, whenever someone says exercise two times a week, 3 times a week, he says that's garbage. You need to exercise every single day. Let me tell you what I've done today. I did a half an hour of boxing, fitness, and I'm talking about hitting gloves hard. Every day, exercise beyond your comfort zone. It was well beyond my comfort zone. I also rolf, and that comes under the first category as well as the third category. Does anyone know what rolfing is?
Deep muscle massage.
Deep muscle massage.
Very deep.
Is it painful?
Extremely.
Extremely painful. At noon today, from noon to 1, I had from 10 to 10:30, I boxed. From noon to 1, I was rolfed. Very painful, but it feels great afterward. And I tell you what, when I don't rolf or I don't exercise, I feel awful. Because I'm not as loose, I'm not as stretched out, I don't feel well. So I exercise because it makes me feel good. Maintain a positive attitude. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. I feel your pain, as Bill Clinton would say. It's hard to keep a positive attitude. But what choice do you have? And let me tell you something. I can prove to you that having a positive attitude actually makes you healthier. Does anyone know what the placebo effect is?
8.
In clinical trials, they have somebody takes a sugar pill and somebody else takes the trial of medicine. The placebo effect is where the person taking the sugar pill actually gets benefits for the first 3 months. Same benefits as the person who takes the medicine. Isn't that just the brain working? You think you're taking something that's helpful, it's just a sugar pill, you get better. Positive attitude. It's all in the brain, it's all in the head. Keep a positive attitude. And then stay engaged. I see people out here in the lobby. I don't know what board game they're playing, but they're playing some sort of board game. That's staying engaged. That's not sitting at home watching TV by yourself. That's socializing. I watch a lot of documentaries. I love documentaries. One of them is called Happy. Just called Happy. And what they've proven is that if you make $5,000 a year, money is going to be important to you. No doubt about it. But if you make $50,000, it's the same as making $50 million. As long as your basic needs are met, it doesn't define happiness. What defines happiness is engaging with other people, finding a fulfilling purpose. And that's what I'm trying to do by doing my speaking engagements. And you can do with doing clinical trials. You can do by helping in the support group, by being doing whatever makes you feel good, and stay engaged. Let me talk about employment law. Is anyone here still working?
Not here, next door.
Cool. I mean, people with Parkinson's. Well, this advice isn't any good for you, so.
What was the advice?
Well, like I say, you're in shock when you first get diagnosed with Parkinson's. I was an employment lawyer, and it didn't occur to me to get advice from an employment lawyer, because you should. You don't know what the American with Disabilities Act is. You don't know when to tell your employer whether not what to tell them or not to tell them. You don't know how to tell them. You don't know how to put it in writing or put it verbally. You don't know what a reasonable accommodation is. You don't know any of that stuff. And the first thing you think about when you get diagnosed with Parkinson's is not, I need to get an employment lawyer to get advice. But you do. So this is information or knowledge that I'm bringing people, saying you need to get, if you're still working, go see an employment lawyer so they can help you, guide you through the process, so to get the maximum benefits that you can get, and to hold your employer accountable to the American with Disabilities Act. Financial advisor. I got diagnosed when I was 41. When I was 48, I had to leave the job that I had. I couldn't do it anymore. I was waking up, I was sleeping and working and sleeping and working and sleeping and working. And I can tell that I wasn't able to juggle as many things as I did before. And I would forget some things. And I said, I just can't be the general counsel of a major corporation anymore. I've got to move on. At 48 years old, now I stupidly didn't sign up for long-term disability. So I had to get with a financial advisor to say, how do I change my lifestyle so that I can not run out of money? Pretty important situation. I want to run out of money the day I hate to say this, but the day I die. I want to spend my last dollar about 5 seconds before I die. Oops, my wife heard that. Documentaries. Forks Over Knives. Anyone ever hear that? Food Matters, Educated. There are many documentaries. If you watch these documentaries, I don't have to say another word. You'll never eat meat again. You won't. You'll eat more healthy, you'll eat more vegetables, you'll eat more fruit. You won't eat meat anymore by watching these documentaries. 3 years now, I've stopped eating meat. Why? Well, there's a medical reason. Levodopa carbidopa. I understand it's absorbed in the intestines, a small part of the intestines. Animal protein blocks the absorption of levodopa carbidopa. That's why the doctor will tell you to wait an hour before, 2 hours before, 2 hours after to eat animal protein. Well, my thinking was, if they're causing this window, why am I putting animal protein in my body to begin with? And I feel so much better, so much healthier now that I don't eat animal protein. So I gave up animal protein. That's what I talk about: of will, desire, intense desire, determination, discipline. I gave up animal protein. GMO. Anyone know what GMO means? Genetically modified organism. When my wife moved in to my house, I had been doing Nutrisystems. And she pulled out of the box in my pantry a piece of chicken that was wrapped up. And it had an expiration date of 2017. Now, chicken does not last till 2017. And doesn't last non-refrigerated. I don't think that was going to be healthy for me to eat. I don't think I have to be a rocket scientist to decide that. So GMOs, we stay away from GMOs, we stay away from gluten. What's kind of hard though is, and I'll be realistic about this, I'm going to write my next article and I'm going to say, what's left? You know, they grow vegetables in soil that's depleted of nutrients. They put pesticides on vegetables, unless it's organic. So it's not easy to eat healthy. It's not easy, but it can be done. No, no, no. All I'll say is seriously consider. I'm not saying you should do it, but seriously consider cutting animal protein out of your diet. Maybe cut back on it. Maybe cut it out. But watch the documentaries and see what you think, because we're all making decisions. You got to start eating out of a different parking lot. That little McDonald's sign in the back. I'm loving it. Remember when the jingles used to be long? McDonald's is my kind of place. It's such a happy place. A clean and snappy place. A happy place. McDonald's is your kind of place. Now it's I'm loving it. That's just a side note. You never know what's going to come out of the mouth. Daily exercise. This is actually the trainer. This is doing kettlebells. This is my wife. This is me. He put this on his brochure. And the reason he did that, he came to speak with me at a conference once. And he's disclosed to me for the first time I'd heard this. He never told me this before. He said, John, when you walked into my studio and said you wanted to do kettlebells, I didn't think you could do it. I said, I don't know, this guy's going to hurt himself. And my wife said to him, just bear with him. And I didn't do it as well as everyone else, but I did it. And I'm able to keep up with everyone. I don't have as heavy a weight, and sometimes that's a little bit embarrassing. When a guy my size has this big kettlebell and he's swinging that, and I'm swinging this little 20-pound one. I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed. In the over 50 Parkinson's kettlebell class, I'm the champ. That's the way I look at it. This person doesn't have kettlebell. They're 30 years old and they don't have Parkinson's. I'm not embarrassed. Forced exercise. It's kind of a new phrase that they've come up with. When you exercise alone, you don't exercise as well as when you exercise in a group. That's why group exercise compels you to exercise more. The key words are stretch, strength, and sweat and strengthen. Anyone ever hear of Bikram hot yoga? Anyone ever done it? It's HE double hockey sticks. It's 15 degrees, 60, 70% humidity, 90 minutes. We'll do that tonight. I do that almost every day. During it, it's hard, but afterward, I feel great. Positive attitude. Lois, do you want to say anything about breathing restoration? Yeah, come on up. Lois is doing a clinical trial on breathing restoration, and I'm one of her subjects. And I wanted her to come and see me speak, but since she's here, I want to give you the benefit of hearing for a couple minutes what she does. Lois, actually her name is Lois Lane. We're looking for Clark Kent.
It's spelled a little different than the typical what you would think. Thank you, John. So I am an independent researcher, and I believe with starting at first base. First base in any person is breathing. And what happens is when you don't get the benefit of free drugs from your nose, disease sets in. Based upon our DNA and our life experiences, dysfunction takes a different path. So what I care about is if you could give me some feedback on what is the most meaningful to you? In the adventure, I try to use a positive outlook. In the adventure of Parkinson's, do you care about breathing better, moving better, sleeping better, swallowing better, or less constipation? What is the number one thing that would be most impactful in your life? Because the research project I'm going for, I can do whatever I want. Unlike drug companies, it's me, myself, and I. So, if you could give me some feedback, because breathing is going to make a difference in all of those. But I'm not part of your group to understand what would be most meaningful. So, we get to vote. Who wants to sleep better? Who thinks sleeping better is number one? Number one. If there's one thing I could give you, would you want to sleep better? You?
I would. And my husband he's the one with Parkinson's, and he's in a rehab right now, and he's not sleeping at all. He's having a hard time sleeping.
Right, because guess when your brain heals? When in sleep? REM sleep. You have to perfectly breathe with your diaphragm through your nose to get to REM sleep. And that's what we can offer you. It's not a drug. It's resyncing your cranial nerves to connect with your diaphragm so that your brain can heal. Okay? That's what sleep can do, but you gotta breathe in order to get there. Okay? But as the group, what would be best? Because you're the only one who really wanted to sleep better.
Well,
So-
once they start eating more healthy, you're not gonna have constipation anymore. That's a side product of eating healthy.
And breathing through your nose. The combustion of food with nitric oxide is pure stellar.
See, I'm gonna say my husband's like you though. He does not breathe through his nose. He's always got his mouth open.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault.
No.
I know it. I know.
Right, right. And there's a gentle solution. There really is. That's what I do. But what were my other options besides sleep better? Move better?
Move better.
Who wants to move better is number one. Number one, move better. You don't care a crap how you sleep. Seriously. No, seriously. You want to move better?
Yeah.
How many want to move better? Seriously, guys, give me feedback. What is most meaningful to you? So I think we have about 10.
Anti-constipation.
Anti-constipation, is that number one? Everything flowing?
I forgot the fifth one.
Me too.
Swallowing.
Swallowing. Who has problems swallowing? Seriously, how many people have swallowing?
My husband does.
Okay, because see, swallowing if you can swallow smoothly, you'll be able to breathe and sleep. So it's all tied together. That's why it's not one thing. It's a network of it's all integrated, and we're not in competition with the drugs. We're trying to do, what can you do, just like John is telling you, what you can do actively that can help you breathe, move, sleep. And when that happens, you can thrive with whatever life has dealt you.
Not just survive, but thrive.
Absolutely. Because the power of oxygen absolutely can change every one of your lives.
And Lois will be around after we finish. You ask her any questions. Take advantage of that, her as a resource. Oh, right, spontaneous clapping. Always remember, and this is a country singer who wrote this song, life ain't always beautiful, sometimes it's just plain hard. Life can knock you down, it can break your heart. But the struggles make you stronger and the changes make you wise. And life ain't always beautiful, but it's a beautiful ride, a beautiful ride. My man, Muhammad Ali. Let me tell you about inspiration. Tell you about how inspiring this man is. A woman I went to hear speak one day was the first woman to row across the Atlantic Ocean solo. Pretty powerful. So I talked to her and I said, tell me about that. And she said, well, actually, I tried to do it once and I failed. I had to be rescued. Didn't make it. And I decided I wasn't going to try again. And I went to an event and I met Muhammad Ali for the first time, and I reached out my hand to introduce myself, and he says, I know who you are. And she was taken aback by that. And he said to her, do you want to be known as the woman who almost rode solo across the Atlantic Ocean? 12 words. She did it. She got back on the horse and did it. Be inspired by my words, be inspired by someone else's words, be inspired by Stuart Scott, be inspired by Jimmy Valvano, be inspired by anyone who inspires you. Whatever it takes to be inspired, to take control of your life and live as amazing a life as you can possibly live. Jimmy Valvano's six words: never give up, don't ever give up. Find the will within you to perform these daily action steps. Every one of us has a strength inside us. Meet Team Bauman, President of Nutrition and Exercise, Bernadette. President of Emotional Support, Ollie. Talk about faith. Have faith in yourself. This is you've taken it a hit. A fastball has been thrown and hit you between the eyes. You can lose faith in yourself. Don't lose faith in yourself. Being a Boston fan, I'll mention Ted Williams. Let me tell you about Ted Williams. Ted Williams was interviewed when he was 75 years old. And the interviewer said to him, how do you think you do against today's pitching? And he said, I'd bat about 220. If you don't know baseball, 220 is a pretty low batting average. This is the last man to ever hit 400, which is amazing. And the reporter was blown away, and he said, you think the pitchers are that much better today than they were during your era? He said, for Christ's sake, I'm 75 years old. How do you think I'd hit against pitchers today? Talk about faith in yourself. He still thinks he could bat 220 at 75 years old. You are not Parkinson's. I gave a talk in southern Indiana to about 30 women, and we didn't have space, so we piled into one hotel room. That was always been an interesting phenomenon. But it wasn't like that. But I asked the first one in the workshop, I said, tell me about you. And she said, well, I've had Parkinson's for 12 years, and I have this symptom and that symptom. And I said to the second one, tell me about you. She said, I've had Parkinson's for 8 years. She told me about her symptoms. Third one said, I've had Parkinson's for 7 years. I said, stop, time out, hold on a second. You are not Parkinson's. Tell me about you. You haven't lost your identity. The first one said, well, I'm an architect. And if you look in downtown Indianapolis, there's a building that I designed, and it's quite unique. And the second one said, I grow prize-winning tomatoes. Whatever it is, you are not Parkinson's. You have Parkinson's. Parkinson's does not have you. Reinvent yourself. Find something that you can do. There is something you can do. There's something out there for you. I know there is. Get past the emotional roller coaster. Have faith in your higher power. Everything happens for the best, or at least for a reason. I tell the story, and I get emotional, but I'm tending more to go towards her side. My mother is an exceptional woman, and she one day said to me, now you know, John, everything happens for a reason. And I said, stop. Hold on a second. You've always said everything happens for the best, my whole life, hundreds of times. Why did you change it? She said, because you got Parkinson's, and I can't imagine that's for the best. Well, that motivated me. See if I can make it to the best. What would I be doing right now had I not gotten Parkinson's? I'd be sitting in an office somewhere reviewing contracts. Think I'm doing something a little bit better than that? More worthwhile? More fulfilling? More helpful? I'll use the example of Michael J. Fox. Would Michael J. Fox have raised hundreds of millions of dollars for Parkinson's research had he not gotten Parkinson's? No. Wow. Reinvent yourself. Figure out why. Figure out how it's for the best. Poker. I was a terrible poker player. They used to love me to come to the neighborhood poker game. Then I got Parkinson's. I stopped taking my medication for 2 days before the games. I'd get that fourth queen and no one would know it. They banned me from the game. They said I had an unfair advantage. Rockstar parking. It's Christmas time, you go to the mall. There's no spots except handicap spots. I'll take advantage of that. Every party needs a designated martini shaker. We talk about blinders. This is pretty cool. Anyone ever see the movie Overboard with Goldie Hawn and Carson? It's a great movie. Do you remember who played the butler on the ship? Anyone remember? Famous actor, Roddy McDowall. Roddy McDowall is a famous actor. Why did he take a secondary role like that? He could take any role he wanted. Why would he take that role? And I think I figured it out. He got to deliver one line that's so powerful that he took the role just for that line. Goldie Hawn, had been a rich person, and she got amnesia, and she thought she was very poor. So she experienced that for a while, and then she got her memory back. And she was on the ship, and she was kind of in between worlds. And she said to Roddy McDowall, "Was I that bad?" And he mimicked her and said, "Andrew, I believe I've lost my diamond earrings somewhere between 44th and 46th Street. Go find them." And she was sincerely apologetic. She said, "I'm so sorry. What am I going to do?" And this is the line he delivered. She said, "Madam, we're all born with blinders on. You've had yours removed for a short period of time. What you do with that information is entirely up to you. You've been struck with a life-changing adversity. You've got Parkinson's or a loved one has Parkinson's. You've had your blinders removed. You see things differently now. You have a different outlook on life. What you do with that information is entirely up to you." It's a humbling experience. I was a little bit egocentric at work. I would make people wait for me in meetings because I could. I'm told, not by my wife very often, that I'm a kinder, gentler John. The bond. I used to live in a country club community where everyone talked about how much money they made, what kind of car they drove, how big their house was, how big their boat was, how many club memberships. They used to say the 13 club rule. Do you know that in a golf bag, you're only allowed, like, I think 12 clubs. Am I right? Is it 12 or 14? 14 clubs. You're only allowed 14 clubs. When you reach the 15th club, you supposedly have made it. What that means is when you're a member of 15 golf clubs, why would you want to be a member of 15 different golf clubs? How much golf can you possibly play? Well, that's the thing that people would discuss in these events. I don't think we discuss this stuff. We have Parkinson's, or we're associated with Parkinson's. The bond that I felt, the friendship that I made with different people. I don't know if you know Carl Ames or Brian Baer, Brian Grant, Davis Finney, somewhat to some degree Muhammad Ali. I consider to be part of a community that we're all a part of now. And there's a certain bond And if you look for it and see it, take your blinders off and see it, you can see that you can be more honest with these people because you're going through a similar experience. So I feel much more enriched in my circle of friends. This came to me one day when I was speaking in Cincinnati. One of the other benefits of Parkinson's is my parents happen to live in Hilton Head. I don't know. So I call them once a week, twice a week. At the end of the phone call, I say I love you. They say I love you. That's nice, and that's the way it should be. Parkinson's allows you to demonstrate how much you do love your partner. Not through words, through actions. Whenever I can't button my collar or button my sleeve, and my wife buttons it for me, she's saying the words, I love you, through her actions. And if she makes me a nutritious meal, whenever she promised me to exercise, that's what she's saying. That's a nice side benefit. That's a silver lining. Have faith that your life has purpose and uncover your purpose. The purpose is out there. You just have to uncover it. You don't have to create it, just uncover it. Be that touch, be that smile, be that kind word, be that listening ear, give that honest compliment, do that smallest act of caring. My words today have motivated you to do anything different, anything at all, just one thing. And you're able to stand up, show that commitment by standing up right now. You can stand up if you're going to do anything different by what I said today. This is how I assure myself a standing ovation. Thank you very much for your time and attention.